workers will be able to now negotiate better wages, knowing that the erosion of purchasing power is I'm saying tight monetary policy because it used to be the case then. Like I mentioned always, there is always a lag effect in terms of when policy impacts take effect. You don't say reduce monetary policy rates or increase monetary policy rates today and expect that the effect will be tomorrow or next month. No, it doesn't work that way. There is a certain lag effect, usually 3 months or so, and then we begin to see it. But now we know we've eased it down. We've now, I think this year alone, we've reduced the monetary policy rate by about 6.5 percentage points or so. So we know we've eased it. So that effect, we'll see it very soon, maybe towards the end of this year, in the first quarter of next year. However, I think that we need to open our eyes as well. You see, reaching single-digit inflation is not the same as achieving price stability, like I was explaining earlier. We still have some structural vulnerabilities. And I think the month-on-month increase of 0.9% reminds us that prices are still rising, but they are rising just at a slower pace.
Actually, I was going to, I'll come to that because that's something that I saw as a sharp contrast to what we are celebrating, because, we're excited that generally prices are dropping and all of that, but I see on month, I see an increase of 0.9. We'll talk about that very soon. But to what extent is the fall in inflation driven by global factors versus domestic policy? Because I know you highlight that the Bank of Ghana has put in place certain things. Is there something, has this inflation number gotten something to do with global factors as well?
Yeah, it does. You know, that this inflation reflects a mix of global factors and domestic factors. You see, on the global side, we've seen that commodity prices are easing and lower international freight costs have reduced the cost of imports, among other things. And global inflation itself is coming down. So that will mean a lower pass-through to local prices, which is what we're experiencing. And we know that these external conditions, once they ease, the burden on domestic policymakers here in Ghana, for instance, strength imported inflation, and therefore we are going to see the inflation numbers come down. So there is a mixed impact. But I particularly want to take this position this morning that I don't think it's much of what is happening in the external environment. I do believe that it is much of what we are also doing within that is contributing to this. And maybe I have to applaud. You know, in the past, because I have friends who go to the market, not myself, I've heard them. In the past, it's difficult for market women to reduce the prices even when inflation numbers are coming down. And I'm sure you've also heard some of those things. Yeah. But I think in recent times, a lot of our mothers at the market are doing well to be reducing the prices. And I think that is also contributing to this. Because let us not forget, these numbers are taken from our market. And once the prices at the market are falling relative to last year, the output is what we are talking about this morning. And so kudos to them for what they are doing. Kudos to the government for its fiscal consolidation agenda. So far, I've not seen any sign of any fiscal slippage. I've not seen the government doing something beyond what it has said it will do, as evidenced by the budget is presented to all of us. So I think the government has been doing well. I think the monetary part has also been playing their role well.
Right.
I think it's high time we stop saying that what we are seeing now is because of past policies by the previous government. Well, that time has passed. Of course, they were part of the recovery process. But at this point, I think everything that we see in this economy should be clearly attributable to the government of the day-to-day. And I think that they are doing well. Yeah. But let's be careful. We need some structural reforms to be able to sustain this. You see, it's maybe sustaining something as good as this is what we all need. We don't need our inflation to be 9.4 today. Tomorrow we wake up and it's gone back to 11. Then we see it going up and we cannot even catch it again. That is not what we want. We want a very sustainable economic environment that is highly predictable, relevant for businesses and households. Some of us, they've not increased our salaries, but inflation keeps on increasing. You see, and I know it's not only for some of us, it's for many people as well. Once inflation keeps going high and it's not sustainable, we are not really able to plan well. You bought something, maybe there's something you use at home, maybe gas or something, the price was, say, 200 cedis or something. Then you go back next month and it has increased to 250 cedis. You will notice that a 50 cedis from your income is going to be used to pay for that. And that is a reduction of another benefit you could have had with that same amount of money. And that's the situation that I'm pointing to. We need to do well. Yesterday, I was mentioning to you that Ghana is 68 years. Ghana has spent 40 years with the IMF, only 28 years on our own. In other words, since we gained independence, almost everything we have been doing is being controlled by the IMF. It is high time we took the prospect and the fortunes of our country into our own hands, and we man our own economy, grow it to the point we want to have it. A prosperous Ghana starts with you and I, it starts with everybody in this country.
Right. So you actually talked about, back to the question, you talked about the global factors, but you didn't quite touch on the domestic ones.
Well, the domestic factors have to do with our policy responses to some of the things that are happening. So the measures we put in place, tighter, the earlier tighter monetary policy. I don't want to say tighter now because we've eased it by about 6.5%. And we knew what the governor said at the time, if you remember. They were using that to anchor inflation. And so once inflation was coming down, it gave them room to ease it. And I remember that monetary policy first briefing very well. And so that's what we are seeing today is a fruit, it's a byproduct of those policies and those decisions that were taken by the monetary side. And I think that's what we are seeing. Fiscal consolidation, especially given that our headmaster is in town. If you don't know our headmaster is the IMF. And that is also helping us to be able to anchor inflation the way we want to see it. And I think the season we are in, even today, yesterday through to today, it rained. I think the day before and all of that. That is also helping because once, we have still not moved from seasonal harvesting of crops in this country. We don't have enough irrigation facilities to be able to water our crops all year long. We still depend on seasonal things. And we know that season plays an important role in increasing yields that we have. So that is also playing a major role on that. So I think that altogether, these are some of the things that is making these things possible. Yes, I know that the exchange rate is not as good as we saw it between the months of, say, maybe March, April, May, June, maybe up to July. I think from August up to now, our exchange rate has not been behaving itself well. I think today when I check, it has depreciated further. But from what we know, the gains we made with the exchange rate is part of the reasons why we are seeing this. So the point I was making is that from both the fiscal side and the monetary side, the actions that the government has been taking is what has propelled us to reach such a height that we have now.
I see. Right. But let's talk about some of the specifics as well. Now, I see that food inflation is at 11%, and non-food is at 8.2%. What does that tell us about price pressures?
Well, thank you. You see, the divergence between food inflation and non-food inflation reveals where our persistent challenge lies. And we've been talking about this for more than a year. Food inflation is the reason why Ghana records a very high inflation. Sometimes I wonder why that is the case. Look around you. Anyone listening to me this morning, crops are growing. We have arable lands. Our lands are not lands that you cannot plant crops on. Sometimes it's surprising. Yet the prices of food quite high. And it is true. This inflation now, when you open it up, it is food that is the most expensive. Today, when you want to buy a proper meal, you know how much you are going to spend to be able to get that? Far beyond that. Even when you want to prepare food, it costs more than it used to be in the past. So the stubborn element really, with respect to our inflation, is food prices. It carries the largest weight in the consumer basket. It is what most Ghanaian households spend on, or what we use our income for. After all, the Bible said that it is food. Shelter included. That is our basic necessity. And I think down in the line, Adam Smith and the rest of them who, these are economists, also found out that the basic necessities of life include food. But it's not a modern day concept. The Bible first said it. And you can see that is what we spend a bulk of our money on. So once that is recording the highest price, we need to be able to tackle that. And I've been saying it. Look at our regions, the 16 regions. At least we can point some that we can get a lot of food from. See, Ashanti region, Eastern region, Volta region, Osi region, even in the savannah, Bronga Hapo. I mean, I'm still used to my my 10 regions. That's what I readily know. The 16. I think that I was out of basic school, so it has not really stuck that much. But we know the regions that we can use for food production. We know that, but we are not taking advantage of that. And that's the point that I've been making all along. So food is the reason why inflation is high. See, 11%. Non-food is 8.2%. And you can understand why the inflation is 9.4%. And you see how non-food responds. You see, it responds more quickly. And that shows that tradable goods like imports, like services, housing, among others, they are benefiting from stable exchange rates and lower import costs as well. But until we fix that supply side issue from agriculture, until we fix that, really, agriculture, we know the issues. There are issues of storage, transport, post-harvest losses. The last time I was making a case for how we've not built enough silos. In Ghana here, you go to the market, and the market woman tells you that there is no plantain. The plantain season is over. You go to the market, and they tell you the tomato season is over. And they say it's in tree, body as if it's a human being. And that is not supposed to be the case. See, there are countries in this world that do not have plantations. But these countries always have plantain in sufficient supply. And there is this country called Ghana that has plantation, but will tell you that there is no plantain when the season for plantain is off. What have we done about storing the ones we produce? Because we know how much we lose, between 20 to 35% post-harvest losses alone. What have we done to be able to, as it were, store that so that we don't have these losses time and time again? And access to inputs, that has also been on the high side. Once the input costs are high, it comes out at the output side. So food prices will continue to pressure household budgets more than any other category. And I think it's something we need to pay close attention to.
I see. Right. Let's also talk about the regional disparities. Now, Bono East is doing 1.2%, and Northeast is doing 20.1%. What explains that? I know you've mentioned what do you call it? The infrastructure situation. What other things actually make this? I mean, explains these disparities we're seeing.
Let me start off this way. There's a stark difference. Look at the numbers: 1.2%, 20.1%, 15 regions. National inflation is 9.4%. The region that recorded the least inflation, 1.2%. The highest, 20.1%. From 1.2 to 20.1 is a very long distance. See, it tells us that inflation is not a uniform national experience, like I was telling you earlier. No, it's not. And I can understand why Bono East is recording 1.2. They are benefiting from strong local food production and good roads that are linking their major urban markets, therefore keeping their costs low. The Northeast, by contrast, may be facing a combination of factors, from poor transport infrastructure to recent harvest disruptions, limited market alternatives, and possibly localized shocks like conflict or weather events. That may be playing a role in there. And that has critical policy implications. You see, the national average is likely, people only care about, inflation is 9.4%, but perhaps you stay in a region where inflation is 20.1, where inflation is 14.7, where inflation is something, not 9.4%. So inflation is not the same for all of us. The national averages usually mask real suffering in specific regions. So when you look at the national average, you'll be very quick to say that, the country is doing well, but it's not the case. It is covering some regions that are actually suffering, and we can see that. Look at the numbers. When you look at the number, one thing is clear. The number of regions that are recording a very high inflation is actually more than those that are recording very low ones. 9 regions out of 16 are recording higher inflation than 9.4%. In fact, double-digit inflation. Only 7 are recording single-digit inflation. So sometimes these national average can mask the real issue. See, like I keep saying, we cannot rely solely on blanket monetary policy to be able to address these pockets of high inflation across our region. No. Yeah. We need targeted interventions, mobile markets, emergency food distribution, investments in rural roads, region-specific storage solutions. Because we have 9 regions recording, high inflation than the national average, which means that a significant portion of the country is actually recording higher price increases or price pressures than the headlines suggest. And that is why we need to look into that.
Right.
I'll repeat, Ghana is not all about Accra. Ghana is beyond Accra.
Right.
And we need to pay attention to the regions. You see, when we do this, it will curb a lot of things. Rural urban migration, it will curb it. Look at the number of people who want to. It's interesting. Someone outside Ghana sits in the train a distance that is longer than Accra to Kumasi and gets to work in 30 minutes. But you see, for you to move from Kumasi to Accra or vice versa, I'm telling you, with the current road at Amasama, yes, I think that's the route, you will not spend less than 7 hours to get there. Why? Because of that, if someone is in Kumasi and has a job in Accra, the person has to relocate to Accra. Those of us in Accra, their buildings are not even up to. Then there is pressure on the system. It makes housing prices go up. It makes prices of food substances go up. Because when the demand is higher than the supply, we are always going to see that prices will keep going up. Right. And that is the situation we need to avoid. Grow the local economy so that people will not be drifting from their home regions, and not everybody will want to move to Accra because everybody sees that, the cream of Ghana is in Accra, and I have to get my own share of that.
I see. We have to go now. I said we're going to talk about the month-on-month rise that I'm seeing, the 0.9, but maybe we'll save that for tomorrow. But why are locally produced items rising faster? I see 10.1% than the imported goods, which is at 7.4.
I mean, the answer is staring all of us in the face. And I've been saying it. You see, it's a reversal. A reversal where locally produced goods are inflating faster than imports. Why? Why are we in a country where when you import something, it is cheaper than the thing you do in your own country? Why? It points to structural problems in our domestic economies. Local producers are actually facing higher input costs, fertilizer prices, fuel for transport, limited access to affordable credit, and post-harvest losses. All of these drive up input costs, and then we'll see it reflect in the output cost. Meanwhile, imported goods have benefited from falling global commodity prices and are relatively stable, choice for you to make, backed by the performance of the cedi in recent times. And even before the cedi started even stabilizing, we knew that imported inflation was cheaper than locally manufactured or produced inflation. See, this pattern actually is both a challenge for us and I think to some extent an opportunity we need to grasp. It undermines our competitiveness. That is the challenge. And keeps domestic production costs very high. The opportunity is that targeted investment. Investment in agricultural productivity, investment in rural infrastructure, investment in storage facilities, and even financial access to farmers could significantly lower local production costs and help drive overall inflation down further. If we get this right, locally produced goods can become more competitive and reduce our import dependence.
Right. Okay. Ima, we will save the rest for tomorrow. Hopefully, we can look at some other part of this particular report. So maybe your final words, then we can go.
The final words. You see, Ghana is our country to prosper. IMF will not prosper Ghana. Neither will the World Bank. We can all look into the data. Since IMF came onto the scene in the history of the world, there is no single country that the IMF has developed. Any country in this world that has developed on its own agenda. They took the fortunes of the country into their own hands. The people of the country. If Ghana will develop, it depends on you and I and every single person listening to us this morning. The fortunes and the prospects of this country rest on all of us, our shoulders. We are the only people responsible for developing our own country. Let us not leave this country in the hands of the IMF. Let us not leave the fortunes of this country in the hands of the external environment. This country should be able to grow domestically. We need to strengthen our regions, develop our domestic economies. Gone are the days when you are traveling to your hometown, the only thing they'll ask for is bread. But today, when you're even going to visit your grandma in the village, you have to buy onions and tomatoes. Why? Where did we get it wrong? And even the basic thing that we should be known for, agriculture, is really suffering in this country. It's sad, but I think that there is a future that awaits us. And all of us, with the right mindset, with the right attitude, will be able to change the fortunes and the dynamics Ghana is going through today.
All right, Ima, thank you very much for your time. These are key issues, and we hope that anybody listening to us, policymakers, anybody at all, is speaking some of these things and we're implementing them. Right, Ima, thank you. I'm really grateful that you made time this morning to join me.
You're welcome.
All right. That was Emmanuel Boateng, in-house economic analyst, and he was breaking down the numbers and what exactly is happening in terms of our inflation as a country. Now, a lot of things are going on. We're seeing that inflation has dropped, but the regional disparities still exist. We're also seeing that even though we are seeing year-on-year inflation drop, some month-on-month inflation, and we're still seeing some month-on-month increase anyway. But those are some of the things we'll be talking about. We'll leave the conversation here. Hopefully we can continue tomorrow. So please make sure that you join us tomorrow as well. Let's have more conversations on these things. And tomorrow, hopefully you get to understand exactly what this means to you as an individual and as a household. And so that's a start. If you missed any part of the interview, please feel free to visit our social media platforms. On Facebook, we're at ZFMGH, and also on YouTube, we're at Zed Multimedia. Please do well to visit these platforms and play back. We're on Instagram also, and X at ZFMGH, and also on TikTok at Zed Multimedia. That's a start. Okay, our show continues. Very soon we get into a roundtable discussion, and we're talking this morning about music and how that impacts your life really. We're talking about what exactly it does to your mental health, and I think that is one conversation that we must have as a people. So please stay tuned. Let me see if I can get you some very good old tune to play for you as we get our guests over the lines for this conversation. sound. And I'll think about it. One song can calm a crying baby. Sometimes you can see a baby crying, begin to sing for the baby, and then they get calm. It can bring strangers together in a stadium. When they play national anthem, everybody is together, and even lift your mood. It can also lift your mood after a stressful day. But why does music have that kind of hold on us? And more importantly, how can we use it to manage stress, to improve our focus, and maybe even take better care of our mental health? And this is right here on your lifestyle, leisure, and business platform. And of course, once you're focusing on lifestyle, this is something that you should listen to. And we'll be digging into that with a psychologist, and his name is Robertson David Imfojo. He's a clinical health psychologist, and he joins me this morning for this conversation. Robertson, good morning. How are you?
Good morning. I'm good. And yourself?
I'm very good too. Thanks so much for making time to join us this morning.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
All right. So let's get into our conversation, and we're starting very simple. Why does music affect us so deeply?
So I'm going to answer this question from two angles.
Sure.
One from a neuroscience and a neuropsychology perspective, and the other from the perspective of energy psychology. So in the space of neuropsychology or in neuroscience, we'll just go like, okay, sound or music is very good for our being because when we hear, when we listen, it releases a certain kind of reaction within the brain, which that reaction is responsible for a happy, a happy being, a chemical called dopamine, which I'm very sure most of your listeners might have heard of it. So the dopamine is responsible for our pleasure and motivation. So according to a neuroscientist or a neuropsychologist, when we listen to music, these musics are able to stimulate our brain's rewarding system, thereby releasing that particular dopamine chemical I made mention of. And that can bring about a change in our brain's chemistry. So depending on the kind of music you are listening to, take it as you are listening to, let me say, jazz. Jazz has that ability to soothe the soul. So there is that soothing flavor or that soothing desire that comes with it, where you are in a very stressful situation, it kind of relax you. Whereas when you are listening to a different kind of music, it produces a different kind of reaction. Take it as Australian. Immediately, there is that sense of sadness.
I don't know why I'm laughing, but continue.
It brings that sense of sadness, and that has effect on the mood, because the mood in which you find yourself can also determine the kind of music that you listen to. So that is how a neuropsychologist will look at it from. But in energy psychology, we say that everything around us has a vibratory frequency. So everything in this universe or in this world that we find ourselves is vibrating at a certain frequency. So to the energy psychologist, you listen to music based on the kind of frequency at which you are operating. So we have theta, gamma, delta, and then the rest. So you see people wanting to go in for certain kind of musics because of the kind of frequency at which they are operating. That is what would affect your choice of music that you would go in for. So yes, music has that ability to change mood, change our emotions, and everything that we are going through. Yes.
I see. But how strong is the evidence that music actually reduces stress or anxiety?
Okay, so as I made mention earlier, the kind of mood that you find yourself in determine the kind of genre of music that you would go with. Let's take it as just when you were playing this, the music in the background.
Yeah,
My
redemption
first
song.
time that I heard it was from a play that was done in school.
Okay.
That was when one of our mates came in to sing that particular song. So it quickly took me back there. The same way, when you are listening to music, depending on the kind of situation you find yourself, as in you have that, within the time of stress, we have a certain chemical in the body called the cortisol, which is the stress hormone. Now, that particular stress hormone, when it's in the body, it puts the body in a state of fight or flight mode. You see your heart racing, your muscles tightening, your breathing getting shallow. When you are going through all these things, there is that dilation of your people. As you are going through these stages, when you get to listen to a steady music, it's able to soothe your soul. It calms you down. In therapy, we have what we use frequency, or setting mantra, where we give to people that are going through stressful situations as a way of calming themselves. So a sound like you can do a sound like to you it's nothing, but to the person going through stress, it's able to help the person, concentrate on that particular sound as a means of calming him or herself down. Because at that point, there are series of chemical reaction going on, and that sound, that frequency, is able to alter the kind of reaction that the person is going through,
I see.
and that can interrupt the cycle that the person is that flight or flight mode. That particular sound or frequency alone can change the cycle and eventually calm the body. So that is why, if you've noticed, most people tend to listen to music when they are going to bed. Others, when they are going jogging or hiking, they tend to listen to music, or even at work. Some people prefer to listen to music. It's a way of calming themselves, helping them to concentrate. Exactly.
I see. Right. So, I mean, of course, it helps you reduce stress and also anxiety. So, would you say that it's more of a complement, or how does it really compare to other stress management techniques? I mean, we can talk about meditation or even exercise.
Okay. So I would say it's a compliment. It's more of a compliment and also a standalone thing. That is how I would put it. So a compliment in the sense that if I am meditating and I'm finding it difficult to find a middle point, and the middle point here is a state of focus, I can bring in the music as a way of helping me to find a middle point. So instead of my mind racing, the thoughts racing around, I go like, okay, I'm going to focus on the sound that is being played in the background. What sound is that? A sound that is probably someone playing a flute, or someone just playing a musical instrument. That is one. Now, I stand alone because the music I am listening to resonates with a certain situation I find myself in. And more often than not, you realize that people listen to music based on the state that they find themselves in. So the person is going through a happy moment. You realize that the person would want to listen to a kind of music that has that happy vibe. So at that point, the music is the one that is sort of increasing the person's motivation of the state that he or she finds herself in or himself in. So that is how music works here. It can be a stand and it can be a compliment.
Right. But does the type of music matter? For example, maybe somebody listening to some classical music, is it more calming than Afro beats, or it depends on the individual?
Uh, I think it depends on the individual. It depends on individual in the sense that I am more of an old timer type of music person. So I like to listen to music by are old folks. The reason is that I am not interested in the sound, but I'm interested in the words, the message the person is communicating in the music. So, one of the songs that I love the most, I don't know the composer, but it goes this way. Is it Party Party Jayenibre? That particular song. So when I listen to that song, what it tells me is that you don't have to be jealous of someone. At some point, your time will come. In as much as it's delaying, just know your time will come. Exactly. So it's both the mood and then the state or the kind of situation that the person finds him or herself in. All these are some of the things that tend to influence the kind of music someone would listen to.
I see. So the type of music matters.
Oh yes, it does.
Okay, I mean, but because your submission was more focused on the individual.
Oh, okay. So I made it in two folds here. So the type matters, and then the individual also matters.
All right.
Because you can't tell me you'll be listening to a hip hop music that has to do with celebration on the day of losing a loved one. Exactly. So it's both sides. The state you find yourself will determine the kind of music you go with, and then the music you are listening to would also tell the kind of state you find yourself in.
I see. So this time we're looking at music actually impacting you, your stress levels, your mood, and all of that, isn't it?
Yes.
So if I pick Afrobeat, automatically, are we saying it's supposed to make me get quite hyper and all of that?
The genre and how it would.
Because I know, of course, your mood will let you, because sometimes you pick your phone, you don't know what song to play, and you just feel like you should listen to a particular song, you go for that, But there are also times where you're just playing, and then maybe it's on shuffle mode, and then it shuffles to something that maybe you weren't even expecting. Then can that also calm you down?
Can that calm you down? If I say yes, I'll be lying, and if I say no, I would also be lying. Reason being that, you see, music is a way of helping you to express yourself. I don't know if you understand or know that.
Yeah.
So it's a way of expressing yourself, in the sense that there are certain kinds of emotional languages that you sort of find it hard to use. But when you find the music, you go like, aha. So it's like the music is speaking your language. Exactly. So it's both sides. Yes, it does, and no, it doesn't. So Afrobeat may at some point be telling you a story about someone and the struggle he or she is going through. At some point, it is not telling the story, but the person is listening to it just for the sake of listening.
I see. All right. So if you just tune in, this is Business Breakfast on Zed. Robertson, please hold on for me. If you just tune in, this is Business Breakfast on Zed 101.9 FM with me, Nietzsche B. Hammond. And this morning we're talking about the power of sound, how music actually help us relax. And a lot of us listen to music and we're just listening. Some people just play it as a background thing, but we're trying to look at exactly what it does to us specifically so that it can help you choose the right songs and also help you in your stress, managing your stress levels and all of that. If you want to join the conversation, you have a question, a comment, please feel free to send me a WhatsApp on 0544321019, 0544321019. You can as well call me on that same number, or you can call me on 030-3956641, 030-3956641. And then I give you the opportunity to share your thoughts with us this morning. We're streaming live on Facebook at ZFMGH and also on YouTube at Z Multimedia. Please drop a comment and we'll read them for you. All right, Robertson, let's continue the conversation. So now we've seen that music actually affects our mood, and our mood can also affect the kind of music we want to listen to and all of that. But how can the average person use music more intentionally in their daily routine? I mean, whether at work, in traffic, or at home.
Okay. So, how, come again with your question if there was a break there?
Oh, sorry. Yeah. So I'm asking that how can an average person or the average person use music more intentionally in their daily routine?
Okay. So, the average person can use music more intentionally in their daily routine as a way of, you know, communicating with self. Now, you don't have to wait till you find yourself in a certain state or situation before you listen to music. As I said earlier, I listen to music not because of the sound. There are times I listen to it because of the sound, but there are times I listen to it because I want a message. Now, there is always a message in every music that you come across.
Yeah.
So, in a day, if possible, at least listen to something. You can learn a new, English language or anything, not just the English language, but any language at all from just listening to a music. Just one.
Mm.
To teach you something.
Yeah.
Two, it also helps, you in managing your cortisol level, as I made mention earlier. Because the human body is always receiving one form of stress or another. Although the stress level might not be significant to a point where it will cause a distress, it is there. So listening to the music from time to time helps keep your body in equilibrium, in a state of calmness where you are not tilting more to the left, not tilting more to the right. So intentionally, this is how someone can, include music as a daily routine.
Mm. How about scheduling stuff like that?
How does?
How about scheduling it?
Oh yes, you can also do that.
Mm.
So you decide that okay, in the morning, I wake up around 5. From that time, I'll listen to some hymns around that time. When you are probably at work, that time you can't get the time to listen to the music, maybe because you'll be occupied with something or two. But then in the evening, when you retire back to your home, you find something very slow, something very calming, as a way of using it to sort of, you are detoxifying the body, having gone through the rigorous activity in the day. It helps. So just find something calm, something on a very low tempo, and use it to distress yourself at the end of the day. It helps you. It's very helpful for the
Mm.
body. Yeah.
Now you are giving some examples. I mean, permit me to probe a bit further. So
Okay.
you're giving some examples. So in the morning, what would a hymn do to you? Is there like something about hymns that can actually affect you in the morning or set you in some energized mood? Something I don't know.
Okay,
Mm.
so for instance, I used him because that is how I do my day. In the morning, I listen to him, and not just let me put it this way: it's more of a hymnal instrumental. So it's the frequency that is more important to me. Whilst listening to the frequency, it is a way of telling myself if I brought in any leftover energy from yesterday. As I said earlier from the explanation, I explained it from both the energy psychology perspective and the neuroscience perspective.
Mm.
According to energy psychology, when certain leftover energies are in the body, they tend to block our meridians. So the meridians are sort of like pathways through which we communicate with the various chakra points within our body, or the various vital points within our body. So listening to that instrumental frequency, at that point I am telling myself we are clearing every leftover negative, unwanted energy left in the meridian. And therefore, I go into that state with that mindset that as I listen through it, I am cleansing my meridians. Then in the day, when I find time, I like to do a little bit of country or old folk music, as I made mention of. Then later in the day, you get some small jazz. Just don't talk, let it flow. Do not think of anything at that point in time. Just let all the thought flow. Do not concentrate on what is going on in the mind. Instead, concentrate on what the music is saying or the sound that you are listening to. And it helps very much at the end of the day. So, people that even struggle with sleep, I would say there have been instances in therapy where we use these frequencies to treat people who are struggling with sleep, people who are struggling with certain traumatic experiences. We use
Wow.
these frequencies in helping them, and even children that have difficulty in paying attention.
So what kind of music will help the child? If you,
Okay, so a
yeah.
child do you know sometimes we tend to overlook it, but things like um, is it they call it jollyphonics, where the person will be singing the rhymes. It's a way of helping a child who is finding it difficult to develop language,
Mm.
because language acquisition is something that has to do with both nature and then environment. So a child that does not get access to people often, we bring in the usage of these tunes. With that said, you don't expose also the child to the tune for longer periods, because the longer you expose the child to that tune, the child tends to become more of a cartoonist baby. Exactly. So you try to moderate the situation in such a way that the child will not tilt more towards the left, nor will not tilt more towards the right. So
Mm.
try to do it in moderation.
Mm. I
So
see.
that is how powerful music is.
Wow. Wow. So
And
you've been
we
using it
talk
in
of
therapy.
instances like using it for people with dementia and Alzheimer's. So music is indeed very powerful when it comes to its usage in psychology.
Okay. Wow. That's interesting. So in workplaces, usually workplaces are the places where there's a lot of burnout, stress, and all of that. What role can music realistically play in boosting productivity and maybe well-being?
Okay. So there was once a time I went to a place, and it was in the afternoon, and around that time when I entered the place, there was happy in the sense that even though it was a commercial place that they needed that utmost silence, but the music was there. And I was saying, if these people know what this is doing for somebody here, they would probably ensure that it continues. You understand? In the sense that um, your employees are using the mind constantly, thinking, how do I do A? How do I do B? What is the way forward? That small musical break, or that small music that is playing at the work area, that may seem as a nuisance, would be helping someone, going through any event. And not necessarily listening to hard music. As I said earlier, just a common human. When you do, it helps.
Mm.
You understand?
Yeah.
It helps because it's something that um, if research has made us known that frequency, which I would like to dwell on, frequency is something that helps the body in calming down. So I strongly encourage that employees, if possible, I mean, having a music session whilst work is going on won't be bad. Yeah.
Okay, as in playing it in the background. Because I've gone to some workspaces where you go there, they have like a small radio at one corner. I don't know whether it's a radio, maybe a speaker or something, and they are playing some very solemn music, and the
Exactly.
atmosphere alone can keep you productive and focused and all of that.
Exactly.
Do you quite see that in Ghana a lot of times? I mean, in workplaces.
So far, I've seen it in the malls. So I can speak of the malls. Other places I can't speak of that.
Mm,
Yeah.
right.
So
But
I think if they encourage it in other places, it will help. But in as much as we are talking about the advantage of it, let's also look at the disadvantage.
Yeah.
There, there are some tunes that you would play where you find people starting to yawn and wanting to sleep. So we also need to sort of balance it in a way that it doesn't lead to inactiveness at work.
Mm.
Exactly.
But then again, that depends on the type of music that is being played, right?
Exactly.
Mm.
Exactly.
Okay. So how do you, as psychologists, actually integrate music into therapy? You mentioned that you do that, but how do you do that really for people dealing with, say, anxiety, depression, or trauma?
Okay. So I would like to use um, one. I'll explain it from the point of insomnia, and then try to bring in the other components. So someone who is having an insomnia episode could either be experiencing an anxiety, could be experiencing high levels of stress, or could be going through some levels of depression. So at that point, the person is unable to sleep. Why? Because the body is lying down, but the mind, which is supposed to be asleep for complete relaxation and growth to occur, is still racing because there are intrusive thoughts coming in back and forth. So what we do is that in data collection from the person that is taking the presenting complaints and other information, you get to know a great deal of information about the person. Having collected this information from the person, then that would inform the kind of team that this person would require or the kind of frequency that this person would require. So, in most instances, some of the frequencies that we use, let me just give you examples.
Right.
Okay. So, we started from small hairs going up. So, you can start from something like 174 hairs, then you go to 285 hairs, you go to 396 hairs. So as you begin to go from these, which we call it the tuning forks,
Mm.
as you begin to go from the various tuning forks, you would realize that gradually you will get to the person's frequency or energy level at which the person is operating. And the moment you reach that frequency or the energy level the person is operating, you realize that the tune and the person's body chemistry or body composure begins to resonate. And as
Okay.
that resonation is going on, eventually the person will begin to calm down. So the thoughts that may be intrusive, you realize that this person is now calming down
Mm.
because it's reached a point or a frequency where he or she finds this thing resonating with him or her. And then gradually you see that the person will be calming down.
Mm.
And it's not only the music that maybe the person will be listening to at that point in time. There are other activities that will be going on concurrently with the tune.
Right.
Exactly. So
Mm.
this is how we
That that
sometimes employ
that's
music
quite
in
technical.
Mhm.
Right. Okay. But are there times where, I mean, we often hear, so like you're talking about music therapy and all of that. How is that different from just listening to music on your own?
Okay. How is music therapy different from listening to music on your own?
Yeah.
Interesting. Um, I would say that listening to music on your own is also therapeutic in its own sense.
Mm.
Yes. Just that it is not being done by a specialist.
Okay.
So you may not know the frequency at which you are, you know, going. There are certain frequencies that you would get to and you find yourself losing yourself.
Mm.
That is to say, you listen to some kinds of music and you find the words in the music, you know, relating to things that you are going through.
Okay.
And then you realize, okay, I'm depressed. I listen to this song, and the song um, is talking about things that are very depressing. Okay, this is it. You see, what I've been thinking in my head all this while, it's exactly what this person is saying here. So it's true. People actually don't care about me. People don't see my worth. People don't see my value.
Right.
At that point, the music that was supposed it's still therapeutic because that thought that you are dwelling on now, is it the absolute? Is it the truth? Because you are filtering things from a complex language that you are receiving. So the music goes like, in this world, nobody cares about you. My own words I'm using. That's what the music says. Then the person goes, when you don't have money, nobody sees your worth. Okay, because I don't have money, my family don't acknowledge me, my friends don't acknowledge me. Then well, the music is saying what I'm saying. Then
Mm.
it was at some point I felt like ending it all. Okay, I've also been feeling like ending it all. Then it means this person is saying exactly what I am going through.
Mm.
But let's look at it. Maybe a point may come where the person may have said, but at the end they showed love. That one doesn't pay. That one, it's not important to you because you filtered the language. So I always believe that instead of filtering the music or the language that the person is speaking, we should rather take it as a whole, listen to the complex language as a whole, rather than taking it into pieces and bits that um, makes any relation to you.
Mm.
Yes.
So that means that there are times where music actually makes things worse instead of better.
Oh
So,
yeah.
so for instance, like you're talking about, maybe you're listening to, you're already sad, and you're listening to a sad music. It can get
Mhm.
things worse.
It makes things worse.
I see.
Yes.
Right. But is there such a thing as too much music, where like you are over listening? Is it harmful?
Over listening. It depends on what the person means by over listening. Yes. I mean, too much of everything is bad, right?
Mm.
So if I tend to, let's take it as I tend to listen to more of Bob Marley's song. Yes, it's good. His message is very nice. But the question is everything in the message that is nice? Because I was listening, and then let's take it as a child who is growing up, you expose the child to some Bob Marley musics, and there are in the scenes there are people smoking left and right. Remember, the smoking was part of the music, so it's also communicating a certain language, right? So the child begins to think, oh, smoking is a normal thing. Then that it's a problem. Please, you understand?
Yes, sir.
At that point, it means the person has probably, we could say the person may have over listened. Why? Because you listen to the song and now you are practicing things from the song or things from the music.
Mm. Right.
And there is the other, as you know, the other side of it. So it depends. As I said, it could be both. I mean, yes and a no. Yeah.
Mm. Okay. Right. So do you have experiences? I mean, a story of someone whose life or mental health improved significantly because of music.
Oh
If you can
yes.
share.
We It happens often. Most people come in, you do these frequency tuning musics with them, and you see a significant improvement. Just that sometimes it's funny though when you are starting with a person because, um, as I said, you need to start from a lower frequency to meet the person in the middle, or you start from a higher frequency to meet the person at the frequency that he or she is operating. So some people you would finish to you at the end of the day, you think, oh, you've done something, but to them, you've not done anything. So it's gradual. But yet,
Mm.
music therapy is very, very effective. And it helps a lot. It helps a lot. From my point of view, it is something that has been very beneficial to most of the clients that I've seen time past. And I encourage each usage often, but it doesn't mean that every client you see that you are throwing music therapy at the client. No, you need to understand the client's needs. The
Wait,
need of the
sorry,
client.
sorry, not to cut you. So does it mean that there are people that it doesn't work on at all?
Oh yes, there are.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean, take it as you are using music therapy to help someone who is experiencing Alzheimer's or dementia, someone going through these of any of these. Depending on the severity of the dementia or the Alzheimer's, that would tell whether your music therapy will even be effective or not.
Okay.
You understand?
Yeah.
So when you realize that, okay, I've done it for a couple of days, weeks, and the kind of response or reaction that the person is supposed to elicit is not coming, then that should tell you that at that point, memory is completely lost. And by memory, I want to say this: memory is not only found. People think memory is found only in the head or in the brain. No, memory is actually found in every part of the human body
Really?
because
How do you mean?
we are series of cells. We are series of cells to put together to form tissues.
Okay.
And these tissues are put together to form organs. And then these organs are put together to form an organism who becomes a human being. So every cell has a memory of its own. Mind you, I'm sure you have a sore right now, right? The moment you see the wound, the dead wound, you know, oh, I had this cut from the kitchen. Because the cell there was able to quickly send a message to the brain for the brain to do the interpretation that you remember this saw, we had it when the knife, fell from the counter. You understand?
Yeah.
So every cell or every part of the body has a memory of its own. And that memory, when you want to make reference to it, is quickly sent to the brain for interpretation. That's how it works. So when we are using music therapy, we are not only focusing on the brain. No, we are focusing on every other aspect of the body. From the very hair on your head to the very toenails that you have. Is inclusive in everything that we are doing. So that's why I said it's a frequency. We call it a tuning fork. So you keep tuning till you meet a frequency that completely engulfs the person. So when you tune to a certain point and you realize at this frequency, I'm not getting the person, then you realize that music therapy is not going to work, and therefore you need to find something else.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. So do you have like suggestions of music people can listen to if they're going through stress right now?
I wish. I'm saying I wish because I don't want to suggest and then the person listening right now might say, oh, he said I should listen to that or listen to this and no way. Find you. You know yourself. If anything, you know yourself better. So keep searching on the playlist. Keep going through. Keep flipping until you meet that song or that music that talks to you, that speaks to you. As I said, music is a language. It's a form of communication. And until it communicates, it will not make meaning. You just listen to it. I mean, you can be in church or you can be at the bar or any spot. Music will be played in the background, and none of them will make meaning to you. None of them will push you to stand up or dance.
Yeah.
But you realize that someone is up and dancing. And you're like, what is happening here? Because that music or that tune or that song is communicating to him or her.
Right.
And it's not the same for you. Exactly.
I've actually been at events where somebody says that the DJ is not good, like
Okay.
DJ Nabon, but meanwhile people are enjoying the thing and they are dancing. So one person is somewhere and they can't quite relate. I see. All right, but I mean, of course, DJ Wade is good. DJ Wade is our DJ here. So he's going to play us. Robertson, we'll take some few minutes break, and then we come and wrap up the conversation, because we can't talk about music without playing some music. And so, yes, we'll take some cool music or some jazz or something. DJ Wade, what are you giving?
Instrument music. I like instrument music more, so that is what I would pick. Just let it play in the background whilst you are brushing your teeth, whilst you are, going to bath. Let the phone be with you. Let it go on in the background. Listen. Just let the frequency talk to you. I think that is the best.
That's the best advice you can. All right. Okay, so let's take a quick music break. So, Robert, you just hold on for us. We'll take a quick music break, and then we come back, and then we wrap up. All right. So, what are you giving us? Okay, so let me just. All right. So, please stay tuned. This is Breakfast On Zed. Music break. Right, thank you very much, DJ Wade, for that good music. All right, I hope you enjoyed it listening to us. Let's get back into our conversation, and we're talking about music, the power of music, really, and how that affects your mental health and your stress and everything, basically mental health. And Robert Singh Infojo is our guest, and we're trying to wrap up the conversation now. Robert Singh, are you still with us?
I'm here with you.
All right, great. So, for leaders and business professionals that are listening to us right now, why should they take music seriously, and not just for themselves, but also for their teams?
Okay. So, you see, music communicates, and if you've realized, you cannot market your business or even your product without doing a commercial, and that commercial cannot exist without music or a song in it. I
Yeah.
hope we know
Yeah.
that. Yeah. So uh, it's a way of drawing people's attention.
Mm.
Every music or every song draws an attention. It either relaxes, motivates, or tells the people, hey, focus on what we want to tell you. So businesses can leverage on that. I mean, um, you see people going around with their products and they have music or songs in the background. So businesses can also do same. And I also encourage that if possible, I mean in the offices, let's play something. Anything. Let's be intentional with what we are playing. Let's create a playlist that one can relax, two can more concentrate or focus on what they are doing. And then you don't also have to let the music just play in the background. No, we should make it communicate the emotional needs of the people. Because you
Mm.
can't tell me in a bank, you'll be in a bank and you want to play or Suriname fee. Please, I mean,
Right.
the bank is not a place for Suriname fee. The same way, you cannot be in the bank and be playing, an Afrobeat, right?
Yeah.
An Afrobeat music. No, I mean we can go with something um, calming or soothing there, just so it keeps the people going and going, and
Mm.
then it will help. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So maybe finally, if you had to just summarize the value of music for mental well-being, say in one sentence, what would you say?
I would say music is not only for entertainment. Music is not only for entertainment. I'm saying this from a psychological perspective,
Mm.
but I would say it's a tool for emotional regulation. That is one. It's a tool for emotional regulation. It's also a tool for reducing stress. It's a tool for people to come out of trauma and even support memory, as I made mention of people going through Alzheimer's. So let's be intentional about music and try to make it part of our daily, routine for our own personal mental health well-being.
Mm. Right. Robertson, thank you very much for your time. Really grateful that you joined us this morning. And thanks so much for sharing with us.
You're welcome. You're
Oh,
welcome.
all
Thank you
right.
too for having me.
Okay. Thank you very much. Please enjoy the rest of your day.
You too.
All right. That's how we wrap up today on the Business Breakfast on Zed 101.9 FM. It's been a very great conversation. I mean, talking about the power of sound, how music helps us relax. And my guest this morning was Robertson David Imfojo. He's a clinical health psychologist, and he joined me this morning for this all-important conversation. And I believe you've had a good time. You've learned a thing or two, and you're going to listen to good music and listen to it more intentionally now, because of course it affects you, it affects your mental health and several parts of your life. So please continue to listen to good music. Continue to listen to Z 101.9 FM, where we play good music, because we are so much concerned about your lifestyle and what you do during your leisure as well as your business.